I think the biggest thing that we all saw that is accountability. And I think the toughest part for us all is that, there was still a life lost. And um, I don't know. I don't know. Everybody thinks, because of the verdict, everything is right in the world, but it's not. It's not. There's still a lot of things going on that are unjust. And I send my prayers, wishes out to Ma'Khia Bryant and her family. You think you're getting through one thing, and then another thing occurs.
Good morning and welcome into First Take. Thank you so much for being with us, gentlemen. Let's get right into this here. You just heard Chris Paul talking about Ma'Khia Bryant. She was a 16-year-old who was shot and killed by a Columbus, Ohio police officer Tuesday after lunging at two people while she was holding a knife. The officer could be heard on videotape shouting several times to get down before firing 4 shots. LeBron posted and later deleted a tweet yesterday showing a photo of the officer who shot Bryant with accompanying caption, "You're next," #accountability, along with an hourglass emoji. Some more tweets from LeBron that I want to continue with here. He added, "I'm so damn tired of seeing black people killed by police. I took the tweet down because it's being used to create more hate. This isn't about one officer. It's about the entire system. And they always use our words to create more racism. I am so desperate for more accountability." Meanwhile, the National Fraternal Order of Police condemned LeBron's tweet with this response: "At King James, with his vast resources and influence, should educate himself and frankly has a responsibility to do so on the facts before weighing in. This is disgraceful and extremely reckless. The officer saved a young girl's life. No amount of gaslighting will change that fact." Stephen A., I'll start with you here. What did you think of LeBron's overall response?
I appreciated the response that he put out there in the aftermath of his initial tweet. But we're about fairness. I know that I am. And the National Fraternal Order of Police, in terms of their statement that you just put up, were right. And it is crushing. Is the standard bearer. He has been pretty close to impeccable as an athlete, incredibly responsible, incredible role model in so many different ways. And this should not, dilute all the great things that he has done and will continue to do off the court. But in this particular instance, he didn't do his homework before he put out that tweet. I saw the video. Now, I don't believe the officer should have fired 4 shots. I don't believe Ma'Khia Bryant should be dead. I think that when you take into consideration some of the things that I've listed in the past in terms of Dylan Roof shooting 9 folks in a church with a nationwide manhunt out for him, but somehow, some way he gets arrested, and a guy goes into a supermarket in Colorado and kills 10 people, but ends up arrested, but unarmed black men end up getting shot and killed. Somebody needs to explain that to me. And that contributes to the heightened level of frustration that the LeBron James of the world, the Chris Pauls of the world, and so many others in the community, in the black community, period, have been lamenting for far too long. Certainly something needs to be done about that. But you have to be careful about lumping everything into the same category, because there are people that obviously have their take on it that's different from what the black community and those who support what has been transpiring as it pertains to some of these shootings of unarmed black folks, in terms of the support that they've provided to minority communities, to the African-American communities. Their take is different. And so if you're LeBron James, considering your potency, over 49 million followers on Twitter, over 82 million followers on Instagram, clearly not just shutting up and dribble, but taking a stance and addressing issues with the fervor that it so richly deserves, it doesn't negate the responsibility that you have to know what you're talking about, which LeBron James usually does. He's usually reluctant, Max, and hesitant to speak up and speak out until he researches the facts. In this case, clearly he had not done so, which he openly admitted. She had a knife. She was wielding the knife. The officer doesn't just have a right to protect himself. He has an obligation to protect other folks in the community. And she was wielding a knife and about to stab someone when that officer elected to shoot her. Now, me personally, I still think you could have found a way to make sure the girl didn't end up dead, for crying out loud. There had to be another way, a taser, maybe shooting her in the leg or something. I mean, for her to end up dead is just egregious to me. But for LeBron James to put out a tweet and basically says, no, not basically, literally, you're next. I firmly believe that what LeBron was talking about is just like Derek Chauvin had his day in court, jury of his peers, 12 jurors, all right, that convicted him. That's the kind of accountability LeBron was alluding to. But for cynics, critics, and haters of LeBron James, he left himself open for interpretation, because not only did he say you're next and then said accountability, which I love the word accountability, the problem is he posted the officer's picture too. In other words, some could argue you were trying to make him a target. I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't believe that's what LeBron James was doing. I believe that in almost all of the situations, LeBron is incredibly smart and thoughtful, and he doesn't just react emotionally. And he's an incredible role model, and I hope he continues to be. But this was not his brightest moment, because he left the door open for the level of scrutiny that will undoubtedly come his way, because as he admitted, he did not have all the facts. And, you know, the Fraternal Order of Police, their statement, unfortunately, in this instance, was on the money. They were not wrong with what they said.
First of all, LeBron's tweet, let me be very clear about this, obviously means to anyone with even a below average IQ and any semblance of education at all, like you have to be living on another planet or not understand basic language to know what your next means. Are we coming out of a situation where there was vigilante mob justice against police? No. We're coming on the heels of a situation where a cop who murdered someone on camera was tried and convicted of all charges. So obviously, clearly, that's what LeBron is referring to. Number one, that's what he's referring to. And politicians who would use this for political gain, or let me rephrase that. Politicians who would instead lead people to believe that what LeBron was doing was attempting to incite violence, either suffer from extremely low comprehension or are lying to their constituents to curry political favor. One or the other, stupid or corrupt, right? Like, that's what it is. Now, let me just say, LeBron acknowledged he made a mistake, Stephen A. He didn't gather all the facts ahead of time. He jumped to a conclusion, and he took down the tweet. So reaction to LeBron saying, wait a minute, what do you want this officer to do? Whatever you think, hey, the officer didn't have to use deadly force. That is a teenager. She already dropped the knife. Whatever it is, it's unclear, and I've watched the video, exactly what happened. Some of it's blurred out. But what is clear is that there's a point of view that is easily seen as legitimate. That, wait a minute, an officer responds to a scene, a girl is being attacked by another girl with a knife. He takes out the threat, so to speak, and obviously, unfortunately, that threat was a teenage girl, right? It is not a good issue. It's not a pleasant issue to look at it, however you look at it. But the point is, for LeBron to immediately assume guilt on the part of the officer, people took exception to. Now, how did LeBron respond, Stephen A? Did he double down and say, no, to hell with you? No, he took down the tweet and he said he has to do more research. That's a legitimate response to someone who maybe didn't act perfectly in the first place. That's a legitimate response. I've also seen takes that LeBron was, quote unquote, doxing the officer. People apparently don't understand what that means. Doxing refers to when you release information that was heretofore not publicly known about someone, directing the mob's ire toward them. LeBron did not release private information and now made it public and tried to incite a mob toward violence toward an individual. Not at all. He said accountability. Stephen A., you brought this up. All caps, hashtag accountability. No, You are on camera, he seemed to be saying. You were caught in the commission of doing something bad, which is now legitimately disputed. And he's acknowledged that it's legitimately disputed. That was his mistake. You caused something bad. And now you're next. In other words, there was just a situation where an officer killed a black person. It was caught on camera. They were tried and convicted. That is clear. So what is happening now, it seems to me, Stephen A., is LeBron reacted before the facts were out, admitted that he did so, and now it is being used as a political football in bad faith. That's what seems to me to be happening.
First of all, Max, you're absolutely right with everything that you said, but you're missing the boat. And it's primarily because of things that you've articulated on many occasions in the past. When you sit up there and you say there are politicians lying to constituents to curry favor with them, I think that's a very legitimate point in some cases, without question. When you talk about LeBron James' intent, you're right on the money. I said it before you said it. We totally agree. That's not the issue. The issue is the fodder you provided for those on the other side of the aisle. Now, I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking about for those who disagree with LeBron James, for those who are on the attack, for those who were looking for something, an excuse. He gave it to them because he didn't educate himself about the issue before he spoke, which is something he almost never does. So do I believe that this is something that should have a residual impact and a longing effect where people get to use this as an excuse to condemn LeBron James? Hell no. What he has meant to our community, what he